Hello and welcome to this panel. My name is Fiona Mullen and I'm the director of Sapienta Economics. I've worked on, for more years than I can remember, voluntarily and professionally trying to help put this beautiful island back together again. Our panel is called Building Collaborative Frameworks Across the Divide. The main idea is finding ways of cooperating more effectively, and we're going to do this in 2 rounds. So round 1, we're essentially going to identify some of the key problems on how it's working at the moment, based on the experience of our panelists. And in the second round, we're going to try and suggest some solutions. We've got quite a tight timetable. There's 5 people in only 1 hour, so we've basically got 5 minutes each. And I'm trying to do this so you can hear it, but I'm going to try and use a cuckoo clock that will go off at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So if you hear, it means you've got 30 seconds left, okay? So we're going to start. I will introduce people as we go in order to save time. We're going to start with Meltem Onurkan Samani. She's a founding director of Cyprus Peace and Dialogue Centre, and also, importantly for this session, former coordinator for technical committees under Mustafa Akçı. So let's kick off with you, Meltem, with identifying the issues so far.
Yes. Thank you, Fiona. Distinguished colleagues, dear friends, it's deeply symbolic to speak here at Litra Palace. For half a century, this building has been the one safe space where people from both communities could meet when politics failed. It has hosted thousands of dialogues and initiatives, reminding us of both what is possible and what remains unresolved. I remember being there when the Home for Cooperation opened, cutting the ribbon alongside Hara Makriyanni and the 2 leaders at the time, Mr. Christoforos and Mr. Erolo. That moment, like this place, symbolizes both the fragility and the potential of our shared efforts. Today, we are asked to discuss how to enhance collaborative frameworks across the divide. My starting point is simple. The aim is not cooperation for its own sake, but a comprehensive settlement of the Cyprus problem. Most issues we face, human rights violations, humanitarian concerns, daily hardships, stem from the unresolved Cyprus problem. Without political reconciliation, real trust is impossible and cooperation remains fragile. Even when leaders agree on confidence-building measures, implementation is never guaranteed. Any conversation about collaboration must be situated in this unresolved reality. For 60 years, the 2 sides have lived with non-recognition, parallel institutions, and stalled negotiations. This shapes even the grammar of cooperation. Leaders, not presidents. Coordinators, not ministers. Communities, not 2 sides. Protocols differ inside the buffer zone, and agendas can collapse over a flag on a nameplate. Because of this abnormality, even basic cooperation is uphill. When it works, it succeeds despite the conflict, not because of it. That is why frameworks, civic, semi-official, official, must be designed with this friction in mind. Since 1968, the talks have been the longest running negotiation of our lifetimes. We reached people directly in 2004 with the Annan Plan referendums and came close again in Crans-Montana in 2017. Even when high politics stalls, people's needs do not. That is why collaborative mechanisms are not add-ons. They are lifelines that keep channels alive, lower temperature, and prove that cooperation can deliver. Technical committees are not mini negotiations on sovereignty or on chapters of the negotiations. They are pragmatic tools to ease daily pain points caused by division, crossing difficulties, cultural heritage, environmental risks, health emergencies, cross-border crime, and educational and cultural misunderstandings that fuel prejudice. Their purpose is twofold: to ease life for ordinary people and to build trust that prepares communities for a solution. When I was appointed coordinator in 2015, I also co-chaired the Education Committee. I believe these committees could help not only solve daily problems and build trust, but also cultivate a culture of federation. What I saw inside taught me hard lessons. If you fail to cooperate in moments of crisis, you create distrust. When committees could not agree on firefighting mechanisms, in case of fire, for example, or a synchronized health response during epidemics, and instead you close the crossing points, people lost faith. Instead of building confidence, the absence of cooperation deepened suspicion. When leaders empowered them, committees delivered. When leadership sent mixed signals, they became polite, over-minuted waiting rooms. In the Education Committee, I hoped we could promote federal culture and explain to students the basics of the bizonal bicommunal federation with political equality, which was the only one agreed by all sides on the table and negotiated. I was perhaps a little naive, as I was told that is political and committees committees should not do politics, are not allowed to do politics. That was the moment I realized some decision makers were not serious about federation because they were not rushed to prepare their communities or the younger generation about it. Yet committees can deliver. The best example is the Imagine program, devised in the Education Committee together with the AHDR. We persuaded both educational authorities to circulate it to schools, officially allowing participation. Thousands of students, hundreds of teachers, even headmasters took part. Educational policy leaders were indirectly engaged. This was a breakthrough. Civil society organizations like AHDR, that I was co-chair on there until 2015, could not enter schools directly, but through the committee, we could. This proved committees can reach mainstream institutions if and only if officials give permission. But fragility soon returned. When leadership changed in the north, the program was stopped. One excuse was that the AHDR is registered in the Republic of Cyprus and not equally under Turkish Cypriot control. This was a challenge I faced throughout my involvement in the AHDR at the buffer zone. Its achievements were immense, but its structure left it open to political attack. That is why, after 2020, I registered another civil society organization in the north, while keeping it, Cyprus Peace and Dialogue Center, bicommunal. This allowed cooperation without such a vulnerability and gave us more autonomy to deal directly with the root causes of the Cyprus problem. Is it more than 5 minutes? I made it.
The cuckoo.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Meltem. We're now going to move to Amalia Avraam. She's a lawyer with Michael Kyprianou, Vice President of the Youth Board Cyprus, but in this context, she's also co-chair of the brand new Youth Technical Committee, which has had a bit more, let's say, PR than some of the others. So let's give us your thoughts. Thanks.
So, hello everyone. I'm going to talk about our newly established Technical Committee on Youth. As you know, it was decided back in April 2025 after the leaders' meeting with the Secretary General, and we are operating since last May 2025. We had our very first event back in July 2025, which I must say that it was very successful. We had over 120 participants. But what made very successful our event is that we achieved a little goal of what we want to do. We saw new faces coming to bicommunal events, and it was something confirmed by other participants also. It wasn't the usual suspect that attend the bicommunal events that I attended in the past, but we had new people coming and talking to Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots for their very first time. And I think that this was a result from the structure of our committee. The members of our committee come from different backgrounds, different ideologies, different fields, and they encourage their circle and use their social media platforms to make people know about our event and encourage them to apply and get to know our committee and our mission. What makes this committee for me very special is that, first of all, it's an entirely youth-led committee. We have a new generation taking the lead. We have fresh perspectives. And I must say that our committee is less technical than the rest of the committees because we engage directly with the civic society and the young people because our mission and our mandate is to make people join us, and especially the youth, to understand our mission and join us in this effort for trust building, understanding, and collaboration for our island. What we try to do is that we want to have different themes every time that young people are interested in, like the environment, sports, technology, so they can not only create personal relationships, but exchange ideas and opinion on different matters that they are interested in. So not taking it into the political aspect, I can say, but maintaining it less political and more practical, we indirectly letting young people know each other and understand that in many occasions they are on the same page, but also they have different opinions on other matters. One thing that is a bit confusing about the technical committees, and I get this question a lot from journalists, is that we are not negotiating bodies. We do not meet and discuss about the Cyprus problem as such. We are in the aspect of the Cyprus problem in general, but we do not discuss it in our meetings. And we engage directly with the civic society, and we try to make people know each other and build this trust that was maybe lost during the years. So I think that this is very important and we should not underestimate it because in my point of view, every decision must come from the ground up. No political solution must come without the concrete and the solid basis of the civic society. I mean, there are people that they may never had experience to talk with the Turkish Cypriot or Greek Cypriot, something that we saw at our very first event. How can they collaborate on a political level? This is very important, and this is why we should not underestimate the technical committees. And I think, in general, our committee is a real-life example that with transparency, openness, and inclusivity, there are so many bridges to build, and I am very optimistic, and I should be optimistic in my 26 years about this project and our mission.
Bravo for doing it on time as well, thank you. we're going to be talking about doing things from the ground up later, but let's get the views now of Theodoulos Ioannou. He's in the office of the Negotiator, the Greek Cypriot negotiator, you probably guessed from his name. So let's see what you have to say.
Thank you, Fiona. Thank you very much to all involved in putting together the Cyprus Forum, giving us the opportunity, and also all of you here today. My job here has been made easier because those who've spoken already have touched upon a number of issues. So what I wanted to stress is that although the effort is always to insulate the work of the technical committees from the general atmosphere, if the atmosphere is such that would negatively affect them, this is not always possible. That's something that we need to bear in mind. And where the technical committees actually work, focusing on technical considerations rather than political, then they are effective or most effective in achieving their goals. From the outset, their work began in 2008. Gradually, there are now 13 technical committees. Following the 8 July 2006 agreement between the leaders, the role of the bicommunal technical committees is to work on issues that affect the day-to-day life of people. All of the members of the committees, Amalia herself here, are appointed on a voluntary basis. And they participate informally on their individual capacity. Their work, I'd like to stress that it's to respond to basic humanitarian needs of people and alleviate the conditions that the people face as a result of the political and security situation on the island. I feel that there's a few examples. The recent event on the 11th of July that the Technical Committee on Youth, it was the inaugural event of the Technical Committee, held just outside here with a large number of people. Of course, usual suspects are always good to see, but being a rather horizontal technical committee covering a lot of, being the Youth Technical Committee, as Amalia said, covering a lot of matters from the youth perspective, seeing all of the new faces present here in July was a very, very welcome sight, giving the opportunity to young people to build those bridges of trust, that opportunity to communicate. That's a very good example of what the technical committees are for. And I feel the important thing from a positive perspective of what the technical committees were set out to do is to look at the results, to look at that product. Churches and monuments are restored. Cultural artifacts were exchanged during the history of the technical committees along these 17 years. Medicines urgently needed are provided. I think the moment when the Greek Cypriot co-chair of the Technical Committee on Health gets to positively respond according to availability to his Turkish Cypriot interlocutor to provide something that someone might urgently need in an ICU or whatever, saving a life, I think that's a job well done. That's the Technical Committees achieving that goal, building those bridges, or maintaining those bridges. So crossings of millions of people being facilitated. I think that helps reestablishing the connection of the people with our homeland, paving the way to reunify our island and our people. For me, to take an approach, often the criticism is how well some committees work, how well other committees work. If that committee was able to achieve results, if the other committee was not able to meet as often, that I feel compartmentalizes the work of the technical committees. I prefer to view them as in the broader sense, as a channel of communication. The goal is not to have events for the sake of events. It's good to have events. It's a good result. The projects themselves are not there for the sake of the projects. The ultimate purpose is to bring us closer to reunification. If they are able to do that, if they are able to communicate that, then they've been successful. If not, then having events for the sake of events has not proven to be a success unless it works towards reunification. So I'll keep the rest for the second part. And I've beat the cuckoo.
30 seconds early. Thank you. I would say it would be good if more of us heard about things like the critical medicines and so on. I mean, some of the work done by the technical committees is really good, but it's kind of hidden for deliberate reasons, and then so who actually benefits if no one knows about it. But anyway, technical committees is not the only form of cooperation we've had. Nadia, I think you're going to be talking about lessons from more generally what we've been trying to do, right? So, and Nadia is, let me tell you, Associate Lecturer in International and Comparative Public Law, School of Law at UCLan, Cyprus.
Thank you, Fiona. Hello, everyone. I am indeed a bit of an outsider to the technical committees in the sense that I've never been a member, but I have often depended on their work in order to be able to do my own research or to participate in any sort of bicommunal discussion. Let me start by saying that, and this is something we discussed in preparation here, humanitarian issues are very often at the core, but they're different from human rights. Human rights are legal principles that are applied through formal mechanisms. And I do find that very often the technical committees bump into this big obstacle that is legal formalism. Niazik earlier referred to recognition mania, recognition phobia. Meltem earlier referred to the different vocabularies that we have been using for decades now. And when you're trying to resolve a matter informally, it's incredible how many times you bump into this. On our side, we cannot use this term. On your side, you cannot use this other term. How are we going to resolve it? And sometimes it takes forever, but we have almost always achieved to find solutions. And I imagine this is something that happens within the discussions of the technical committees as well. As we have already heard, some technical committees have been more successful than others, some are more political than others, some face more difficulties than others. It's important, though, to speak honestly about these technical committees. I understand why we try to see them in a positive light. They're better than nothing. They are quite an innovation, as far as I know, in other similar conflicts around the world. But they do have shortcomings for which we have to be honest. People are not familiar with their work, they don't understand the extent of their work. Clarifications are of the sort that Amalia gave us are fundamental for society. Otherwise, if the technical committees remain technical and high level and within a specific group of people, they're not doing anything to actually reconcile the average citizens of each community. And to close the circle, but going back to human rights, a lot of the issues that technical committees deal with are interpreted through a human rights lens. So we need to strike the right balance because many of the human rights we are facing, whether it's the missing persons, whether it's the fires, whether it's health issues, they are common. The negative and the positive impact is common to everybody. And what better way of actually showing that we are on our each side, but actually many of the difficulties we face on a daily basis are common. Thank you.
So now we're going to hear from Christoforos Dimitriou. He's a legal counsel and has worked with EU law across the divide, which I think is an EU-funded project, if I'm not mistaken. But it's not a technical committee, so maybe we hear how other ways to do it.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Fiona. Let me also thank Nicholas Kyriakidis and the entire team at Ioannou and Cyprus Forum for inviting me here today. Indeed, I'm going to speak about a very informal collaborative framework. It was back in 2023. 5 people gathered from both sides of the divide. Oya, Usein, Ioannou, Sabina, and myself, and thought that it would merit, it would be worth trying to organize meetings on European Union law topics, applied European Union law, and try to bring to those meetings technocrats from both sides of the divide. So we did this as a citizens' initiative. And we named it European Union Law, EU Law, Across the Divide. Now, some of you may think, may wonder, what is the use of having European Union law meetings across the divide on an island where EU law applies in one part but is under suspension in the other part? Indeed, this is what it is being provided for in the treaties, but if you look closer, you will realize that EU law already crosses the divide. The European Commission over the years has been doing a great job, in my opinion, sending experts, EU member states experts to the north to acquaint people with various areas of European Union law. They've done this with bankers, with farmers, and other sectors. And at the end of the day, local legal texts are being drafted in the north, and they are put into force, which are in alignment with European Union law. And this, in my opinion, is very important because it goes down to the root of European unification. European unification has used as one of its major vehicles over the years the approximation of laws, the harmonization of laws. Now, setting the rules and having rules with a similar content is one thing. Understanding them and applying them is another. Any compliance expert you would ask in any field, they will tell you that there is no such thing as 100% compliance. Whether you are a freelancer or a family business or an established corporate, and you want to be compliant in your field, you need to keep working on it continuously in order to bridge the gap between practice and the rules. And in this effort, it is very important for people to be able to cooperate with each other, to exchange know-how, to explain how they did it, how one company did it in one case and what challenges the other company faced. So these are the people that we are trying to bring to our meetings, people who are technocrats in their fields, and they want to be compliant with rules that have a similar European Union law content. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're now moving to round two. So in round one, I think we heard a lot about technical committees primarily, but that how they can be difficult if you essentially don't get the political backing for achieving things. But that they can, you know, if you have, and especially when you're doing horizontal issues like youth committees, that those can be quite effective. So we're now going to go to round two, and I have put Christoforos back on the spot because your job now. We're going to look at suggested solutions for how can we improve coordination, cooperation on humanitarian and other issues across the divide. So if I can put you back on the spot, Christoforos, to elaborate a bit more on your experience there.
Yes, this is what I could do to speak a bit more about what we did so far with this citizens initiative, EU Law Across the Divide. We started with the banking sector, with people working in financial institutions or working with financial institutions. First, we had a very small meeting with 10 experts from both sides of the divide, and people exchanging business cards and starting discussing, as I said, very informally. And some ideas were put on the table, and at the end we ended with a conference on anti-money laundering, which was kindly funded by the European Commission through Civic Space, UCLan. And we are now trying to open a new similar series of events and meetings on consumer protection and product safety. Let me just mention, let's say, two takeaways from this experience. First, on the island there are communities, not just two communities. There are multiple communities. There's a community of lawyers, the community of entrepreneurs, the community of farmers. It is interesting that even in our very first meeting, people came there, people from the north, people from the south, and slowly within the meeting, lawyers were talking with the lawyers, bankers with the bankers. The lawyers were attacking the bankers, telling them that they make it very difficult to open a bank account for their clients. Supervisors were exchanging know-how on what to look for when a commercial bank offers a new product. So these multiple communities started to emerge. The second takeaway is that, I don't know, perhaps because of globalization, the circulation of information, similar challenges are being faced at both sides of the divide, roughly at the same time. And I'm going to refer to another topic that we haven't touched upon yet as an initiative, environment. As a citizen, I'm very happy to see that there are environmental groups, environment protection groups that are being active at both sides of the divide. They're taking legal action against some land development projects that were not well thought through from an environmental impact perspective. We've seen it in Akamas, we've seen it in Lapta, and it would be very interesting for such organizations to really come together and have an exchange on what they are being faced with at the same time, at both sides of the divide.
Interesting,
Thank you.
So seeking other kinds of communities, not just, let's say, linguistic or ethnic ones. Good. Nadia, I think you've got some suggestions about how we do things better.
I'm not sure it's a very innovative one. I think it's one that I have met a lot. And that's the issue of transparency, to which I already touched upon. So let me start with this. Like in law, we have the reasonable man. As the average person, we think that they should act in one way or another, and so on. So I have this person in my head. Many of you.
Omnibus.
Huh?
Was he on a Clapham omnibus?
So one person I often mention in the in bicommunal events is my aunt who lives in a remote village. She's a real person. So for me, transparency exists if that person is aware of what's happening in the buffer zone. And most of the things we're doing in the buffer zone don't reach those ears, don't reach those eyes. It's not been discussed. So I think we should all imagine in whatever we are doing, in trying to collaborate and to promote collaboration and solve issues, to imagine the one Cypriot who lives in most remotely from us, in the most remote region, and see whether that person would have access to that information. So raising awareness raising among the general public beyond Nicosia for sure is fundamental, and it's been overdue for quite some time. And the other thing is, we shouldn't be afraid of the shortcomings, because we are working towards a federation. And as it was again mentioned in the previous panel, even when the Good Friday Agreement was implemented, the whole procedure stalled on multiple occasions. And we know this is going to happen. We know we're going to argue over recognition and vocabulary and rights and power. But we can already be learning from the work of the technical committees. And this is another reason why they should be more transparent, and they should be more open to discuss both the shortcomings and the positive aspects of their collaboration.
Good, thank you. So Amalia, I think the youth committee is probably one of the most prominent ones, at least in the recent months, even though it's the newest. And like you said, you've managed to reach people who other people haven't. So do you have any ideas or recommendations for how you reach the aunt in the, did you say aunt or grandmother? I forget.
Aunt.
The rural aunt.
Well, I must say that I also think that transparency is an issue that we face. And what we should do is that in our committee, we try to be as much open as we can. I mean, in our first event, we went with an open call to every young people that wanted to participate. Every time we take the opportunity to take a public step and talk about our work and our mission. And believe me, this is not very easy, because every time, and myself, that I make a public statement, it's like I'm in a process of an examination. I have to be so careful of my words and my vocabulary, and I should be, don't get me wrong, but it's a difficult path. But we should do it, because if we stay silent and if everything is hidden and behind closed doors and closed groups, then we do all this work for nothing. And we think in our committee, and we have it as a priority to be not only as open as possible, but that we should expand our work in all over Cyprus. I come from Limassol, and I must say that Cyprus problem is a bit of a Nicosia problem. I mean, it's not expanded as it should to other cities. We should be present in all of the cities of the island if we want to be transparent, and we want to let people know what we do and why they should join us. If they don't see our vision and if they don't know what we are doing, then how can we ask from people to join our mission and believe in what we are doing? I think that this is very, very important. And also, if we include the civic society, it legitimizes our action. I mean, because it's people-driven, it's coming from people. So it's first the people and then the institutions taking the lead in the actions. This is how I see it personally.
Thank you. So Theodoulos, in July, when the two leaders met under UN auspices, they accepted the idea, if I'm not mistaken, of a consultative assembly. Maybe you've got some thoughts about how you think it might work. We've got thoughts that we're going to be developing after this as well. But
so yes, thank you, Fiona. Thank you. So this was a proposal that was submitted long before New York, or long before New York in July. So it was indeed the Secretary General announced in July that the leaders had come to a common understanding on a consultative body of the civil society. The idea, at least the idea as far as the proposal is concerned, is to provide a meaningful role for civil society engagement, bringing together individuals with a proven track record of civil society involvement from all walks of life. And the idea here is for it to be inclusive, not just an echo chamber of people who tend to agree with each other. Not that it's bad for people to agree with one another, but it's always good to have other voices also heard and have the opportunity for there to be a synthesis. And also not just the usual suspects. Again, the usual suspects always welcome, but also good to have new faces, new people. This has not been, I mean, at the moment, as a follow-up to New York, we're still looking forward to the opportunity to discussing these initiatives and our ideas of putting it together. So I wouldn't want to preempt or predetermine how this would end up looking. This is just how it was proposed. We've got a set of ideas that would be put forward to discuss before we're able to mutually formulate and accomplish this. So I think this is, although not under the technical committees, in the same environment, in the same geography as the technical committees, working side by side, bringing together people who have individuals with involvement in civil society, as a body who would consult, who would provide advice for the leaders for things to move ahead. I feel that that would be a very meaningful way of bringing people from the civil society closer and giving them the opportunity to for their ideas to feed into the process. I wanted to touch upon, if I have some, a few more seconds maybe.
No.
Yeah. So touch upon, it's fair to ask for more from the technical committees. I think it's absolutely fair. But I always, the results that we get is what we are able to get, not what we wish to get. And I mentioned tangible results like a church that was restored, a monument that was restored that you can actually go and visit. So the work of the technical committees is available for all to see. When the technical committee on economic and commercial matters is able to bring people together and create that economic interdependence, I think that's one of the most fun that touches up. I mean, following up on the previous discussion on working on building that economic interdependence, that touches upon the essence, bringing people together, bridging that divide, building those ties. I think that's absolutely there. Shortcomings, yes, there are. There could be ways, but I circle back to what I started with in my previous statement. It's important to stick to the technical rather than political considerations. That's what allows room for results.
Thank you. So, Meltem, I know because I've been working with you on it, we have other ideas about how you might cooperate and get things working, so which is not quite a consultative assembly, but something else. Go ahead.
Yes, I also wonder about how the idea would evolve in the near future. Well, all the experiences I mentioned the first round culminated in the most traumatic one, Crans-Montana in 2017. We came to the very edge of a solution, and yet it collapsed. Not because of the people, not because of the communities, but because of the word of one or the other leaders. It doesn't matter anymore which one, everyone knows. What matters is this: the fate of this island was left in the hands of a few men in a closed room, and we all paid the price. This is it. And that was when I became convinced civil society must be empowered to enter the peace process in a real sense, as they don't allow technical committees to do politics. For them, Cyprus problem is political. Even the concept of peace is political. You cannot use the concept of peace. You cannot use the federal solution, and that these claims comes from the ones, the politicians, who supposedly are vehemently advocating federation. Can you imagine? So at CPDC, Cyprus Peace and Dialogue Center, we try to put this conviction into practice. Together with partners, and bi-communal partners and individuals, we implemented various ideas and projects. One was the Embrace project. Through Embrace, we documented human rights violations that stem directly from the Cyprus problem. So we addressed the Cyprus problem in there and addressed them bi-communally and filed cases in both legal systems. This work continues, showing that civil society can not only diagnose problems, but also create remedies when official actors are paralyzed. But I want to go further. Civil society organizations alone are not enough. Citizens themselves must be directly involved, not as party delegates or community representatives, but as individuals with their individual capacities, randomly selected to represent the diversity of society. This is the idea behind our CIAP project, Citizen Assemblies for Cyprus. Because citizens are the one constituency both sides claim to represent. Giving them structured, inclusive voice creates pressure upward and legitimacy downward. Because complex problems need diverse intelligence, random selection stratified to reflect both communities and minorities and the vulnerable communities, surfaces lived expertise you never hear in televised debates. Because process heals as it decides. Democratic deliberation methodology, if well designed, lowers prejudice, equal speaking time, moderated small groups, balanced evidence, and transparent recommendations. And there are further reasons. Assemblies can represent and can respect sensitivities by starting with community-specific deliberations. 2 rooms, 2 languages, before merging into joint discussions. This is the methodology we applied in the Imagine project. Monocommunal workshops, and then after they prepared by communal workshop, and then crossing site visits. They can be consequential, not symbolic. If leaders commit in advance to formally receive, publish, and respond to recommendations within a fixed time frame, they would be grounded in solid evidence, curated by a bicommunal task force, and ensures balanced and accessible materials. They can feed directly into technical committees as well, ensuring that citizen proposals translate into practical action at the technical committees level. And most importantly, they can rebuild public trust in the peace process. When ordinary people deliberate, society feels ownership, and leaders are pressured not to arbitrarily simply walk away when they want to. This connects to the urgent need to redesign the peace process itself. We cannot return to the same format of endless, open-ended talks. As my colleague Tufan Erhürman, who is currently running for the leadership, often says, no one will agree to return to a table that is not results-oriented and time-framed, and this time the status quo should not be an option. And he refers to directly the UN Secretary General, Mr. Guterres' wordings. And Cyprus Peace and Dialogue Center, together with Apophazi Irinis, maybe you heard about it, if not, please check our website, has already outlined such a new framework, and at CPDC we continue to work on a process with clear consequences, maybe backstops as well, and arbitration mechanisms where necessary. Only under such conditions can negotiations be credible again. I mentioned about my dear friend Tufan Erhürman because he is the one that everybody invested their hopes. If he would be re-elected, then the talks would resume. But even if Tufan Erhürman would be elected, we need to take the message that nobody would return to resume the talks with the same modalities that we had for the 30, 40, 50 years long. So let me return to where I began. Collaboration is valuable, but it is not the goal. Technical committees, CBMs, civil society projects, even the most creative programs, none of these are ends in themselves. They are meaningful if they help us move toward the real goal, a comprehensive settlement. Without political reconciliation, there is no real trust. Without a peace agreement, we don't have peace at all. Some ask, do collaborative frameworks normalize division? My answer is, it depends what they deliver and how they are narrated. A cooperative mechanism that reduces harm, expands rights, and is explicitly linked to a comprehensive settlement path undercuts the status quo by making the benefits of convergence visible. A photo op without delivery does the opposite. That is why we must always pair cooperation with a political horizon, clear political horizon. We are practicing the future we want, a federation that protects equality, security, and dignity. Our island is small, but our problems are not small. The good news is that collaboration is not a miracle, it is a craft. We learned its tools in AHDR's workshops. We engineered its protocols in technical committees. We operationalize it through Cyprus Peace and Dialogue Centers, Embrace, and we are democratizing it through CIAP citizens' assemblies. None of these replace a comprehensive settlement, but each of them builds the road toward it step by practical step. Let us stop treating cooperation as a substitute for peace. Let us treat it as the rehearsal for peace, and let us demand that this time the performance is delivered. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I've been asked to wrap it up basically now, even though we started 10 minutes late, so I would love to talk about it more. I would just say one thing. We did a mini kind of attempt at mono-communal assemblies thanks to UNDP financing last year. The thing that really struck me was, and again, it was ordinary folk, let's say, not usual suspects. What really struck me was how grateful these people were being asked their opinion. They were asked to imagine that they were advising the government and that the government was going to implement what they said. So, and they were really grateful for being asked, and these were people from all kinds of different educational levels. So I do think this is something that we're going to be working a lot more. You'll be hearing about us from it from us anyway. But what else did I hear? Make it open. Informal collaboration is also good, especially if you have it on a people-first basis. Incentives are good. The EU has obviously been helping there. But we do need to redesign the process in a way that is, what did you call it? A rehearsal for the future. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.